The Vault of Ancients had stood at the center of the Galactic Council's headquarters for 12,000 years, an obsidian monolith that predated every known civilization. Its surface was perfectly smooth, unmarked by time or tool, and at its center glowed a single biometric scanner that had baffled the galaxy's greatest minds for millennia. Commander Vexthor of the Krillian Empire pressed his scaled hand against the interface. The scanner hummed to life, blue light cascading across his palm, analyzing every molecule. After 3 seconds, text materialized in the air. Species Krillian. Access denied. He stepped back with a frustrated hiss, his tail lashing against the polished floor. Beside him, Ambassador Kulara of the Sentient Collective floated forward, her crystalline form refracting the chamber's dim light into dancing rainbows. "Perhaps my silicon-based physiology will prove different," she chimed, her voice like wind through crystal caves. The scanner analyzed her glowing lattice structure with the same methodical precision. Species Kolathi. Access denied. For 3 cycles, representatives from 64 species had attempted to unlock the vault. The Eldari, oldest of all known races, had failed. The Ixnar, who claimed descent from the mythical progenitors, had been rejected. Even the minds of Andromeda, artificial intelligences older than most stars in the local cluster, could not bypass its security. Dr. Sarah Chen watched from the observation deck, her arms crossed over her chest. As the Galactic Council's newest member species, humanity had been granted observer status, nothing more. They were the young upstarts, the species that had barely crawled out of their gravity well before stumbling into a galaxy already ancient and established. "The human wishes to attempt." Ambassador Kulara's tone carried barely concealed amusement. "How charming." "Regulations state every council species gets an attempt," Sarah replied evenly, ignoring the condescension. She had spent 6 months enduring similar attitudes. Humanity was dismissed as primitive, their technology derivative, their culture immature. Commander Vexthor gestured with one clawed hand. "Proceed then, quickly. We have 17 more species waiting." Sarah descended the stairs, her footsteps echoing in the vast chamber. She had no illusions about success. Humanity had no special claim to ancient mysteries, no legends of being firstborn or chosen. They were simply stubborn, curious, and present. She placed her hand on the scanner. The blue light felt warm against her palm, almost familiar. The scan took longer this time. 5 seconds, then 10, then 20. Whispers rippled through the assembled dignitaries. The scanner's light shifted from blue to gold, patterns racing across its surface faster than her eyes could track. Text materialized, first in the trade script used throughout the galaxy, then cycling through hundreds of languages, including several Sarah recognized as Dead Earth tongues: Sanskrit, Sumerian, Proto-Indo-European. Finally, in plain English, species human, genetic markers confirmed. "Welcome back, Creator." The chamber erupted into chaos. "Impossible," Vexthor roared. "They've tampered with it somehow." "Run a full diagnostic," another voice demanded. Sarah stood frozen, her hand still on the scanner as the vault's massive door began to open for the first time in recorded history. Ancient mechanisms groaned, and air that hadn't circulated in eons rushed out, carrying with it the scent of ozone and something else, something that reminded Sarah of her grandmother's laboratory. The vault's interior blazed with light, revealing walls covered in data screens, all flickering to life simultaneously. And there in the center stood a holographic figure. It was humanoid but not quite human, taller, with elongated limbs and eyes that held the depth of galaxies. When it spoke, translation was unnecessary. The words bypassed language entirely, resonating directly in the mind. "I am the custodian left behind by those who came before. You have returned sooner than expected." The hologram's gaze fixed on Sarah. The seed protocol was designed to take 100,000 years, not 50,000. "Your species has grown impatient." "Seed protocol?" Sarah managed, her voice barely a whisper. The custodian gestured and images filled the air. Earth, pristine and empty of complex life. Then ships descending and figures working in laboratories, manipulating genetic code with casual mastery. The same figures appeared on other worlds: Krylos, Kalath, Eldara, and dozens more. "We uplifted you all," the custodian explained. "Scattered across the galaxy, given the raw materials of intelligence and adaptation, then left to develop independently. An experiment in diversity, in seeing what paths consciousness might take when freed from our influence. Ambassador Quilara's crystalline form had gone dim with shock. We are all created. Not created, the custodian corrected. Uplifted, given potential then freedom. But humanity was different. Humanity was not uplifted from lesser species. Humanity carries our genetic legacy directly. You were meant to be our inheritors, our children, seeded when we knew our time was ending. The chamber had gone silent. Every species present had built their identity on origin myths, on being natural, chosen, or ancient. To learn they were all part of a single grand experiment shattered foundations. The others developed according to their environments, the custodian continued. Krillians became predators. Kulathi became patient and contemplative. Eldari became scholars. Each adapted to their world. But humanity inherited our defining trait, the inability to accept things as they are, the compulsion to reach, to change, to question. Sarah found her voice. Why tell us this? Why now? Because the experiment is complete. 64 species have achieved spaceflight, formed a council, learned to coexist despite their differences. The galaxy is ready. The custodian's form began to fade. The tools within this vault will allow you to reach beyond this galaxy, to continue what we began. But humanity must guide them. Only you carry the weight of knowing, and the responsibility that comes with it. As the hologram disappeared, the data screens remained active, displaying technologies that would revolutionize faster than light travel, energy production, and dimensional manipulation. Commander Vexthor approached Sarah slowly, his earlier hostility replaced by something resembling awe. What will your kind do with this knowledge? Sarah looked at the assembled representatives, beings who just minutes ago had seen humanity as insignificant. Now they all waited for her answer. She thought of her species' history, the wars and peace treaties, the destructions and rebuilding, the endless, exhausting cycle of falling and rising again. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its refusal to accept defeat, to accept limitations. We share it, Sarah said finally. All of it. Because that's what our ancestors apparently never learned. You don't raise children by keeping secrets. You don't build a future by hoarding the past. She turned to face them all. These 64 species who now knew they were siblings in a sense, all pieces of one ancient species' final act. We were made to be explorers, questioners, and builders, but we were also made to be part of something larger. So let's explore together, let's question together, and let's build a future our creators could never have imagined. The Vault of Ancients had kept its secrets for 12,000 years. In one moment, humanity had cracked them open. But in that same moment, Sarah Chen had made a choice that would define her species' role in the galaxy, not as rulers or inheritors, but as the ones who remembered that progress meant lifting everyone up, not climbing alone. The galaxy would never be the same, and perhaps in some distant corner of the universe their ancient ancestors smiled.